Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart. So 2020 has brought upon us some crazy things that we did not expect. The whole COVID-19 situation, the Nintendo Direct Mini, and even today, news of us getting not just a Paper Mario game and a 3D World port, but also a remaster collection for Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy, and apparently even Super Mario Galaxy 2. So because of all these different things, our outlook for 2020 has changed quite a bit. So our initial expectations and predictions are different from earlier in the year. So for this video, we're going to be going into our thoughts on this whole Mario Remaster situation for the 35th anniversary, but also how that, the Direct Mini we got last week, and this whole COVID-19 situation are impacting our expectations for Nintendo's 2020. But before I jump into the swing of things, I first want to talk a little bit about our social media and sort of following us. I know other YouTubers do this all the time. I don't like doing it. I like jumping into the topic, but unfortunately, it's looking like I kind of have to. So let me explain. The podcast we do every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time is no longer getting the viewership it used to. Basically, it's looking like YouTube's notification system doesn't really work for our live streams anymore. It seems to be something that's happening for a lot of small YouTubers. So in other words, the podcast is only getting like 20 to 30% of its typical views. And a lot of you guys are coming in asking, where's the podcast? Well, the podcast has been still happening, it's just not being shown to you guys. You're gonna have to kind of search for it. So, if you do not want to miss it, I'm letting you guys know, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, every time. We will not change that. We will be more strict about it now because of the whole notification system. But also, if you want to actually be notified, since YouTube doesn't seem to be doing its job with that right now, there's Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. You can join the Discord community. All of that is linked in the description below. Anyways, let's actually jump into the topic now. So first, let's go into the most pressing set of news. This whole Mario Remaster situation. Now, we're getting various reports from Video Games Chronicle, Eurogamer, and even Jeff Grubb, the person who said there would be a Direct on 26th. He came out and said some things as well that is actually a little bit more enlightening than the other articles that people are sort of circulating right now. And yeah, we're getting some crazy stuff supposedly this year. We're getting a new Paper Mario game that's going back to the roots, back to the GameCube and N64 days, right? Which is sort of just reiterating the same rumor we got a few months ago, and that's exciting to hear. But we're also apparently getting a 3D World port, which was also rumored a while ago as well. I'm personally not excited for a deluxe version of 3D World. I played through it, 100%ed it back on Wii U, but for those who didn't play it, it's a grand opportunity to get another chance at it, and that is also supposedly coming out this year. But the thing that has me really excited, and I'm sure it has a lot of you excited as well, is that apparently Nintendo's going to be remastering a whole bunch of 3D Mario games, including Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, and maybe even Mario Galaxy 2. Now, if you were looking at the Video Game Chronicles report or the Eurogamer report, you may not have heard mention of Mario Galaxy 2, but Jeff Grubb, the person who came out and told us about the Direct happening on the 26th, he's saying that even Mario Galaxy 2 is going to be a part of it, and it's seeming like it might be a Mario Collection sort of situation. I'll go ahead and read what was said. For the remasters, our source is telling us that Nintendo is pursuing something like a Super Mario All-Stars 2 for the 3D Mario games. This would include Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and then Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's likely that 3D World may get its own separate deluxe style release. While it's possible the older 3 Mario games could come in a single compilation, it's also likely that Nintendo will release them individually as it did with its Zelda remasters. So they're not entirely sure how this is going to shake out, but if I had to guess, assuming these rumors are true, I'm thinking that it's going to be a collection of the 3D Mario games. All 4 of them. And that is awesome, for sure. I'm super excited about that. Now, some people are really getting uber hyped about this and thinking that it's going to be like a grand remake for each Mario game running in the Mario Odyssey engine. I would love that. I will scream for days for that. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's likely or realistic to expect that all of those games are going to be remade with the Odyssey engine. That would be basically making like 4 whole new Odyssey games. I do not expect that for a collection, especially when we're supposedly also getting 3D World this year and a Paper Mario game And there's also a Mario Kart game that's also rumored, but I'll talk about that more in a bit. I'm really just thinking what we're going to be getting is that all these 4 games in one, and the controls will be changed around to work really well on the Switch, and they will all be upscaled to 1080p, widescreen, and that is going to make some of them look better. In fact, I expect all the games to look a little bit better than they used to, but they're going to be upscaled, and that's pretty much it. I'm not thinking that they're going to have a whole bunch of new graphical effects, just some minor stuff just to make them look more modern for today's age. And that's pretty much it, but I honestly think that's a lot. To have upscaled version of all these Mario games with some spruced up controls, that'll be fantastic, and I think they could all play and run really well on the Switch. One other consideration, maybe all of these games could be running at 60 frames per second. The older Mario games didn't, so to get them at 60 frames per second, that would be amazing, and they would feel really smooth. So if that happens, that would be awesome. But here's the kind of issue I'm having in my head right now. Yes, the COVID-19 situation is apparently leading to some changed release dates, delays, slowdowns for things happening, but ultimately I'm sort of feeling that Nintendo's still going to pull out a pretty solid year. But if you look at what's been happening so far, it has been a little bit slower of a time. We didn't get anything in February, it doesn't look like we're getting anything major in April either. The biggest game we're getting in May is Xenoblade Chroncles Definitive Edition. Let me tell you, that's a big game to me, but at the end of the day, it is a remake, right? It's not a brand ground up whole new Xenoblade game, but still, it's getting new content and it has a whole new graphical engine, so it's a special thing. But my point is, we're not getting a major Nintendo game every single month, and there have been previous years where we've gotten a major Nintendo game almost every single month. It's looking like the only 2 major Nintendo games we're going to be getting up until the E3 time is going to be Animal Crossing and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, with a couple other small little things here and there, but that's pretty much it. So going beyond that, June through December, what are we going to see for the rest of the year? The Nintendo Direct Mini sort of highlighted what we're going to be getting up until when Xenoblade comes out, but after that, we don't really know that much. We know that the ARMS Smash character is going to be revealed then in June, and it will come out then, and that's pretty much it. We don't know much else beyond that. Given that Volume 2 of the Fires Pass isn't due to be finished until Holiday 2021, and there are 6 different characters, I'm not expecting the next reveal for a Smash character for a few months after the ARMS character. It's possible that during this E3 time, Nintendo may reveal the second character, but it's going to be months before it comes out. I'm not expecting more than 3 characters to come out in the year for 2020, and in fact, I'm actually only expecting 1 more to come out, and maybe the 3rd one will be revealed before the end of the year 2020. But besides that, we don't know too much for the rest of the year, really. And in fact, the only known, not rumored, known Nintendo games that are being published by Nintendo, right, that are in development are the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Metroid Prime 4, Bravely Default 2, and Bayonetta 3. Those games are being published by Nintendo, and not all of them are slated for this year. The only one that's slated for this year is Bravely Default 2. I have some hope for Breath of the Wild 2 and Bayonetta 3, but Prime 4 for sure is not coming out this year. That is just not happening. In terms of rumored games, we know about the Paper Mario, the 3D World, the Mario Remaster Collection, Metroid, 2D Metroid is rumored, along with a Prime Trilogy, a Pikmin 3 port, and apparently a Mario Kart game. That's a lot of rumored games. Between these real games and these rumored games, I don't think all of them are going to come out this year. That's kind of a little bit too much, and maybe some of these rumors don't turn out to be true. That's also possible. But let's assume that these Mario remasters are happening for sure, along with Paper Mario and 3D World. I'm betting it kind of is, because a lot of reliable insiders are coming out and saying the very same thing. So I'm thinking it's kind of for sure happening. Still take it with a grain of salt, because it's not officially confirmed, but it seems really likely at this point, in my opinion. If that's really the case, I think it's going to be kind of weird, because we're going to be getting a whole bunch of different Mario games throughout the year, and that sort of crowds things up a little bit. Is it possible the COVID-19 situation is going to lead to a sort of more barren year, and we're going to sort of have it filled out by a lot of remasters and ports? Definitely possible. That is kind of how the first half of 2020 has been so far, but I am thinking that by the second half of 2020, things will have died down a little bit, development will have gone back to normal, and Nintendo will still be able to close out the year and have a very solid ending. I understand I'm being a bit of an optimist here, thinking that Nintendo could still pull it out and have a great year for us, but I'm also going to sort of keep my expectations a little bit in check and sort of expect more ports and remasters as opposed to ground up whole new games to carry us out through the year, but I do think there still will be some ground up brand new games to play on the Nintendo Switch this year from Nintendo. I still think that's going to happen, but there is going to be a nice mix of ports and remasters and things of that nature. Now, one important thing to note is that we got this Nintendo Direct Mini pretty much as late as we possibly could before the shareholders meeting to outline what's to happen throughout the second quarter of the year, or the first fiscal quarter depending on how you look at it, but either way, this news is carrying us all the way up until the summertime, right around E3. So I am thinking Nintendo's still going to have a digital presentation. They've said that they're going to have a digital presentation, but I'm not thinking it's going to happen exactly on the same time they usually have in the beginning of June. I'm thinking the beginning of June we're going to be getting the news on the ARMS character, and then later into June we will have the digital presentation, maybe like a week or two later than we normally would have had it, but we'll still get the Nintendo presentation, and it's going to be a big one. Now, the interesting thing is that usually by this point in the year, by April, or March I should say, the end of March, we know about the holiday lineup, or at least the big holiday game for the year for the Nintendo Switch. This year, we don't. As I said earlier, we don't know anything really past May when Xenoblade Chroncles Definitive Edition comes out. There's not really much else besides Bravely Default that's confirmed for this year. So what could it be? Well, in my opinion, it's more likely to expect something that's been announced as opposed to something that hasn't been announced. So maybe not Super Mario Odyssey 2. That would be a lot to expect, especially if we're going to be getting all of these other side Mario games as well, like the Mario Remasters and 3D World port and a Paper Mario game. That's a lot of Mario, so probably not Mario Odyssey. But Breath of the Wild 2 was shown off at E3 last year. That was a story trailer suggesting that they were already very late into development. They already had the physics engine in place, which is what caused the initial delays for Breath of the Wild, so that probably cuts down development by a year or two, and they started development back in holiday 2017. I do think it's still legitimately possible that Breath of the Wild 2 could still come out for the holiday time, say November, which would line up really nicely for Nintendo to have a really big kind of killer app to sort of maintain the spotlight while Nintendo's competitors, Microsoft and Sony, come out with their next-gen systems around November. So I am thinking Nintendo really wants to have something big like Zelda out and ready around this time of the year. So despite the whole COVID-19 situation, I am going to err on the side of optimism and still hold down on my prediction that Breath of the Wild 2 will come out holiday time, and I'm thinking it's going to be in November because guess what? This year, there will not be a retail release for Pokemon because we're just getting DLC. So that November time slot in terms of a big published Nintendo game is open. And why not give it to Zelda? I think it's going to happen. I feel fairly confident about it, but it's important to note that we have this whole pandemic situation that's causing a lot of delays, and Zelda has a history of being delayed, but otherwise, given that it's a sequel running on the same engine and has been in development for years, and Nintendo really wants a big killer app kind of game for November this year, I think, because of the next generation systems, I'm going to bet on it, and I'm fingers crossed that it works out. But assuming Breath of the Wild 2 does make it out for November, how is the rest of the year going to shake out? Well, this is how I'm sort of seeing it happening, and of course, these are my predictions or expectations, and this may not happen at all. Maybe it's still too optimistic, but this is what I'm thinking. In July, the month after the whole E3 thing, at least a month after Nintendo's presentation, maybe 5 or 6 weeks after, we will get a release for 3D World. That will be one of the Mario games to celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary, and we'll also get Bravely Default too. Now, some of you might question why have 2 published Nintendo games in the same month. Well, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened, so I think it could definitely happen again, especially if they're spread out between the beginning of the month and the end of the month. But also, these same developers of Bravely Default 2 made Octopath Traveler, and that came out around the July time. And from the Direct Mini, we learned there's going to be a bit of a test demo just like Octopath Traveler, so I am thinking that Bravely Default 2 is sort of close to the same time slot as its predecessor, Octopath Traveler. And 3D World, at the end of the day, is a port of an old Mario game that a lot of us have played already, a lot more haven't because it was on the Wii U, so I think it's possible that we can maybe see both these games in July. Could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking right now. In August, I'm thinking that we'll finally get a Pikmin 3 port. It's been rumored for quite some time. I think finally we will get that port for Pikmin 3. There were rumors for 2 major Wii U ports coming to Switch. One of them was 3D World, the other was Pikmin 3, so 3D World is being heavily indicated by insiders now. I'm thinking that the chances of Pikmin 3 have picked up a little bit as well. And I think a summertime release for Pikmin 3 would be a really nice fit, so I'm slotting it into August. Now, before we get into the final third of the year for what I sort of think could happen in terms of Nintendo releasing games, I want to point out that by this point, in terms of how I'm sort of seeing it, there will only have been 2 ground-up Nintendo games coming out this year that aren't reusing old content. That will be Bravely Default 2 and Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm super excited for Xenoblade Chroncles Definitive Edition, but at the end of the day, it is a remake, so it doesn't take as much effort as it would a ground-up new Xenoblade game. But still, it's, as far as remakes go, it's a pretty good one. But the point is, 8 months into the year, we will only have had 2 fully ground-up Nintendo games, the rest being some sort of reused content. Yes, the whole pandemic situation is going to lead to some delays and slowdowns, but maybe the way Nintendo is handling it is by bringing out games that don't require as much work earlier in the year, and then some of the bigger stuff could be sort of coming down later in the road. It's going to be more of a backloaded year. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. So going into September, I'm thinking things are going to start to really pick up here. Now, last year in September, we got Link's Awakening. I'm thinking this year we could also get something similar, another 2D version of a big Nintendo game. It won't be Zelda this time around, it will be Metroid. You see, there's been a supposedly reliable rumor going around about both Paper Mario and a 2D Metroid coming out this year. With the recent explosion of information about Mario games coming out this year, and one of them being Paper Mario, that seems to back the idea that maybe also Metroid could be coming. And even if the rumor is wrong, I do feel like it is about time for a Metroid game to come out. We're not ready to get Prime 4 because they had to restart development, but when it comes to 2D Metroid, it's already been a few years since Samus Returns on the 3DS, so it probably is about time for us to get a 2D Metroid anyway. So I am thinking in September, we're going to be seeing the 2D Metroid game. I'm thinking it could be the sequel to Metroid Fusion, Metroid 5, fingers crossed. It might be another remake, but I'm personally hoping for a ground-up new 2.5D Metroid game. Believe it or not though, I'm not actually done with September. I know, I'm being optimistic here, but considering that Super Mario Bros. Came out in September 1985, I'm thinking that if Nintendo really does want to go all in and celebrate the 35th anniversary for Mario, they will release another Mario game during this month. And that Mario game is actually going to be more than one Mario game. It's going to be this rumored Mario Remaster Collection. So I'm thinking the Super Mario Remaster Collection is going to come out in September in the same month as Metroid. Could be crazy, could be too optimistic, but hey, that's what I'm sort of thinking is going to happen. And given that it's simply a remaster collection, it's not a ground-up whole new game, I could see it fitting in with a 2D Metroid game, which, at the end of the day, is a bit more of a smaller scale game compared to something like a Metroid Prime 4 or a Zelda anyway, so I could see it happening. Looking into October, I'm really thinking we might be seeing Paper Mario. Now, why Paper Mario? Well, because a lot of the rumors are really saying there's going to be a Paper Mario game this year, and if you look at some of the October releases we've gone for Nintendo Switch, we got Super Mario Odyssey and Luigi's Mansion 3, both Mario Universe kind of games, so maybe we could get another, and that other would be a ground-up, new Paper Mario game that is supposedly a return to form, just like Thousand Year Door on the GameCube, or Paper Mario back on the N64. For November, I am thinking it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2. We kind of already talked about it, so we don't have to talk about it. But there was another game I was initially thinking could be happening, but I'm now thinking won't be happening this year because of all the other Mario games that are coming out this year, and that's the rumor of a new Mario Kart game. Now, maybe this Mario Kart game isn't even real. We already have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but supposedly there is a big Nintendo franchise that's involving tires that it could be coming out this year. Everyone's assuming it's Mario Kart. I think it probably is Mario Kart if that rumor is true. So I'm thinking that if Breath of the Wild 2 does make it out this year, given all the other Mario games that are coming out this year, maybe save this new Mario Kart game or whatever it's going to be for next year. However, from a certain perspective, it might make more sense to have this Mario Kart game come out in November and save Zelda for next year, because this is the 35th anniversary for Mario, so if you want to make this the big Mario year, you could have another Mario game. But in my opinion, if we're going to be getting a 3D World port, a Mario Remaster Collection that has multiple 3D Mario games, Paper Mario, and then Mario Kart, and all of this is going to be towards the second half of the year, sort of bunched up together, I think you're going to have to sort of spread yourself out a little bit. Not to mention, Breath of the Wild 2 was revealed a long while ago, before any of this other stuff we're talking about right now that's really all just rumor at this point. And given that the big next-gen systems are coming out around this time, I really do feel like the best fit to sort of maintain a spotlight in the November time slot is Zelda, and I do think it could very well be ready, assuming there aren't any major delays. So I'm still sticking with Breath of the Wild 2, and I'm going to assume that either this Mario Kart rumor is false, or it's coming out sometime next year. Maybe it could take the Animal Crossing slot, the March time frame, to still come out early in the year. I think that's possible, if it's real. And to close out the year, I'm going to say that we'll get Bayonetta 3 in December. It's the kind of game that I think could fit in December. We've gone Xenoblade in December, we've gone Smash in December. It's a very core-centric kind of game. Bayonetta 3 could fit in that time slot. Development is supposedly going very smoothly. It's been going very smoothly since 2017, so I am thinking it's at least about time to start seeing some gameplay for Bayonetta 3, and maybe it could even come out this year. If it doesn't come out this year, that's fine, but at this point I am thinking that it could fit very nicely into the December time slot. If this is how the year ends up being, I think that would actually be really good. If we could somehow get, in July, Super Mario 3D World and Bravely Default 2, Pikmin 3, Metroid 5, a Mario Remaster Collection, Paper Mario, Breath of the Wild 2, and then Bayonetta 3, I think that could really make the year a very, very nice year. But maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic. We do have to take into consideration that there is this pandemic situation going on, but I'll argue that most of what I'm talking about here are ports and remasters, especially when taking into consideration what we've gone for the first half of the year. So I think this lineup isn't too crazy. Maybe you have to take out a couple of things here, but overall, I'm thinking this is sort of along the lines of what we're going to be seeing this year. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.